Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I saw an interesting news story come across my news feed this morning. Homeland Security Chief of Staff abruptly resigns. And I thought that's interesting because I have a huge story concerning DHS or Homeland Security and the crimes here, which are believed to be connected with human trafficking. Okay. And so y'all can look that up if you want, and find out, why, she says she resigns, etc. But, anybody that does it abruptly like that, then it's a surprise, surprise, surprise. Something's going on we're not being told about, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Here, this is on the DHS side, on the Department of Homeland site. And, one of their tasks is to stop human trafficking, sex trafficking, and this is their web page right here, the blue campaign. What is human trafficking? It involves the use of force, fraud, coercion to obtain some type of labor, commercial sex act. Every year, millions of women are trafficked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And most of all this we know, right? But this is their job. Okay. And of course, I'm told about a young girl that was murdered because she was being forced to prostitute at an oil show party, and she wasn't the only one there. There was a whole bunch of them. It was organized crime, organized prostitution is what was going on. That's what, that's why I contacted DHS. And so I just wanted to show you that. And then what I have is a timeline I've drawn up and a bunch of evidence files, and I'm going to get in here in a minute. But in May of 2019, I met Homeland at the Midland Police Department. And I provided them a packet of evidence that I felt like could stop this human trafficking ring. Like I said, that's what they're supposed to do, and solve multiple murders, and I'm going to show you a video I made before I went up there of what's in that. And then I'm going to go, like I said, this here is the timeline. And I think it makes more sense if I start from the beginning of, basically when I first got here, things that I believe that are connected with that are DHS, issues, problems, things that DHS should be involved in. Okay. And so I here everything is time stamped, and I have these evidence files I'm going to show you here in a minute. Okay, let's start. October 12, 2008, the previous owner of my home, young Mike Lawhon, 27 years old, dies with conflicted statements where he died at. Okay. 2 days later, the Odessa American reports that Mike died in Fort Worth. Okay. 4 days after that, the Odessa American changes it, reports that Mike died at his residence, which is here in Midland. Okay, that seems kind of fishy. Never heard of that happening before in my whole life. I believe he was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth, and I believe that the reason is because there's an underground home in the backyard that was used for oil show parties. Okay, where they forced little girls to prostitute. You see the connection back to DHS. Okay, so here we are in October 20th, 2008. The 2008 oil show started with a luncheon parade that goes all week long. Okay, and then here on October 31st, 11 days later, is I'm transferred into town as the next unsuspected victim. Okay, because Mike had just died, and I'm coming in. I don't know any different. I was told he died by accident. And I know nothing. And so that was my first night to sleep here right after the oil show ended. Okay. We're going to jump ahead a couple years here. October 25th, the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show started with a luncheon parade. It goes all week. Okay. At the last day of the oil show, Michael Sean Williams died on the last day. I'm going to talk more about this all in a minute. Okay. The next year, July 3rd, 2011, I got engaged at the ex-wife's father-in-law, late father-in-law's river house down by Mexico. I'm going to show you some pictures about that. Here we go into 2012, January 28, 2012. That's the day they ambushed and shot me, And actually 2 weeks before, I had reported a suspected tunnel to the DEA, and then I was ambushed and shot. Long story there. Many, many videos and proof files on that. The next year, in January 8, 2013, True Miracle email was sent, and the one reason I put it in here was also sent to Rick Perry, and Rick Perry was governor of Texas at the time. I'm going to show you that. Okay. Later that year, December 18, 2013, I got served with a subpoena for a protective order from the ex-wife I hadn't seen her talk to in a year and a half, and it was absurd. And so I'm going to show you some the transcripts from that court testimony about statements made concerning prostitution. Once again, it's connection back to Homeland Security of human trafficking. Okay. December 13, 2014, I posted the rape and murder story to Facebook with picture of then secret police Midland Canine police officer Chad Simpson. Okay, the rape and murder story was the story of the young girl that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party. Okay, that Angie told me about. Okay, and I had that picture of Chad. I just didn't know it was Chad at the time because he was still a secret police. Okay, the next day I sent an email to then Governor Rick Perry about the crimes here, called rape and murder. I'm going to show you that. And then the day after that, on the 15th, I sent a second email to Rick Perry, and that was our governor at the time, and it was called rape and murder. It's talking about the oil show party murder. Okay, and that was the same exact day that Chad Simpson murdered his wife and killed himself. Now remember here, it was 2 days earlier I had posted his picture on my Facebook with the story rape and murder. We're going to talk more about it in a minute. Okay, here I am on 2019 in April. Vice President Pence is in Midland meeting the oil company leaders. Okay, we'll talk about that. And May 28th, I met Department of Homeland Security at the Midland Police Department. Gave them a 3-ring binder evidence flash drive. I'm going to show you a little video about that, or a clip of one. And then in July 2nd, 2019, I met Homeland Security at the Home Depot store and showed them where I believe the tunnel was located, going from there to my house that was used for the oil show parties and used by that little girl that was murdered, in the forced prostitution murder. You see the connection to Homeland, right? The same exact day, Pence flew back to Washington, mystery flyback. We're going to talk about that. Okay. 2 weeks later, video of concrete being poured behind Home Depot, where I showed them where I believe the tunnel was located. So I showed Homeland where I believed a human trafficking murder tunnel was that could have DNA evidence of a murdered girl for forced prostitution, and they dug up the ground and poured concrete. Some people are wondering if DHS is not working with the human traffickers that are murdering little girls, and forcing on a prostitute. That's what it looks like it's going on in Midland. That was a big part of what making this video. Okay. About 2 weeks later, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announces his retirement after I made that viral video of concrete being poured. Come to find out, his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my house. I'm going to show you that. Okay. The next month in April, Pence, I did a Facebook post called Artesia Suspects, and I want to talk about it, why it was based on a phone call about a wealthy guy in Artesia, oilfield guy that was connected with the underground homes, believed where the forced prostitution is going on. The same day, I find out where Vice President Pence is flying to Artesia, New Mexico. Right after I posted Artesia Suspects, Pence, schedules a trip to Artesia. Okay. And I think Pence has a connection. I do. Okay. And then we get into October, 3 months later, Secretary of Homeland Kevin McClellan mysteriously resigns. Oh, ain't that funny, after they just got caught pouring concrete to cover up a human trafficking murder tunnel, right? And then 6 days later, Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigns. Remember, he was the governor of Texas when the oil show parties were going on. And I've long suspected that the oil companies are trying to cover up the murder of the little girl at the oil show party, and they were leaning on the Secretary of Energy and Secretary of Homeland, saying, y'all need to cover that up. It's not good for the stock price. And then they got caught on camera, and it's a capital murder. Okay. And so we're going to look at the evidence files on that. I just wanted to show you the timeline. Okay. I think that one here, a lot of people ask that, what's oil show party, because they don't understand it. Basically, the Permian Basin International Oil Show, PBIOS, is a convention like they have in Vegas. It's an oil field convention, except it's in Odessa, okay? And so people in the oil field, very wealthy people from all over the world, fly in, and the parties that go on, the after-hour parties that go on, are infamous for drugs, prostitution, etc., okay? And, everybody that's lived here has heard about these. Been going on since before I was born, and so I've got some screenshots here. This guy right here, he says, I remember hearing talk of these huge secret parties. He says, when I first moved to Midland working for a multi-billion-dollar oil company, I remember hear and talk of these huge secret parties. Yeah, everybody's heard about them. Okay, Tisha Ann Wilkinson Brumley, she told me, she said, I had friends and been involved in them oil show parties. They are exactly what you say. They are underground homes, and that's the point I'm making. I believe these oil show parties were going on in the underground home. Looks like one is in my backyard. That's where I believe that young girl was murdered at. We're going to look at that in a minute, okay? Jessica Lee Hadley. I've been to 2,000 old shows, and I tell you what, there's more than just that one girl that was murdered or raped because she didn't do whatever they wanted her to do, you know? And I've got a recent video called that More Than One Girl, and I pointed out, here's a missing girl, here's a girl that flew to Midland, went missing, here's another girl flew to Midland, went missing, you know? I mean, what's the common connection? And who is supposed to take care of human trafficking? Homeland Security, right? And they're busy pouring concrete. Okay, so here's the late Victoria McKinney, my friend, you know, and she tells me a story about a woman that was brutally raped at an oil show, and that's why she didn't go. So I just wanted to quickly hit that, you know, just some of them screen scenes. I'll show you where I'm talking about here in Midland, okay? Here, I live at 3802 Fair Circle. You can Google it, Google Maps. This is my home. This is where I was ambushed and shot right here, actually. Somebody under my home shot me, okay? It's believed one of the four, I was told there are 4 3-bedroom underground homes, buried at least 25 foot deep, cost over $1 million a piece. One woman said she worked on it. They were finished 1987, the budget of $7.35 million, put in for George H.W. Bush, called the Safe House Project, okay? That's what it's believed to live. If you go to Google Maps right now, you look at the map screen, you'll see a large building in my backyard. You can do it on your phone. And then you go over to the satellite screen, you won't see it. And so the building is, I believe, underground, and that's one of the 4 underground homes. Here's the Home Depot store right here behind. That's where I met Homeland Security, okay? And then I was looking at, you know, at the old Google Earth maps, the dated maps. This map was about 6 months before, you know, I was shot and left for dead by somebody under my home. And I see right here where the ground was cut behind Home Depot, aimed directly at my house, okay? Obviously, a tunnel was going from there to here, right? That's what I showed Homeland. This is where I was believing. And then when the week during the 2010 oil show, when Angie told me about the young girl that was murdered, she was leaving my home, driving to the parties, and there in 5 minutes. Okay. Well, I mean, I think she's parked in front of the Home Depot store, going in there, going underground, coming back via this tunnel. And here was, you know, one of the underground homes. Looks like another one is over here. There's supposed to be 4 underground homes. And there's other evidence here, you know, but I was back here with Homeland Security showing them where I believe this human trafficking murder tunnel was at for them. And 2 weeks later, they dug up the ground and poured concrete. You know, that's a big part of this. I just wanted everybody to see that before we even start on these dated ones, okay? Okay, just some of the print screens I got. You know, here's this Flo Rivas Rocha. I got a recent video called Midland Home Depot, and she says, my son works at Home Depot, and his co-workers heard kids underneath the bathroom floor. You know, I thought that's interesting because that bathroom floor, I think, is right where that tunnel's located, okay, that we looked at. Okay. And this was another one here, another Facebook friend, and he said he asked his friend about the basement under Home Depot. He said, I'm in the basement under Midland Home Depot to a girl I know. Her first response was, how do you know this? Be careful who you're telling this to. How it's dangerous. You need to be careful who you're talking to about that. So I know she knows, you know. And so, you know, and like Tisha said, yes, that's where the wholesale parties are. They're in them underground homes. So, I mean, it's just clear as could be to me. That's what's going on, you know. And you know, more than that, the remains of a young girl were found outside of Midland in 2013. We'll look at that in a minute, you know, and I believe that's the girl that Angie, you know, told me about. And if they really wanted to solve it, then they would go expose them underground homes, you know. You got lots of people saying it. Okay, here, this was timestamped October 12th, 2008, you know, okay? And I'm still in Hobbs at the time. Previous owner of this home, Mike Lawhon, 27 years old, 2 little boys, and he dies, okay? They told me it's an accident. Now I believe he was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth. Odessa American posted his first death notice and said he died in Fort Worth. And then 4 days later, they posted a second death notice, changed the location of death, say he died at his residence. And that's what my neighbor had told me. Marilyn DeLucia told me twice Mike died in my house, you know. And the very next week, the oil show parties were starting in the backyard. Okay, you can see the connection there, you know. I believe it was, you know, I believe that's why he was murdered. Okay, here's the schedule for the 2008 oil show. Okay, and so here, October 20th is when it kicks off. Okay, previous homeowner Mike Lawhon dies on October 12th. I'm just going to show you that, you know, and just a week before, you know, what a coinky dinky, ain't it? Let's fast forward 2 years ahead, October 25th, 2010, the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show and its party started. The 25th is where it kicks off with the Chuck Wagon Gang lunch and the parade, okay? And you know, it's always on the first day, okay? On the 25th. On the 28th, last day of the oil show, Michael Sean Williams died, okay? And this guy might have a connection. He's from Odessa, okay? And I'm going to explain a little bit why he might have a connection to them oil shows, okay? And so what happened was somebody took his picture and his name and created a fake Facebook account. This is it. That was the URL. Law enforcement could track that person down if they would do law enforcement work. They could find out who created this using Michael Sean Williams, you know, name and information. And they created this, had 6 mutual friends with me. Okay, these are local people. You know, I figure they know who the real guy is behind this. It wasn't Michael Williams because he's dead, right? But this guy, what he did was take this guy's name and picture and created that Facebook account. Send me a friend request. Okay. And then somebody told me, you need to go look this, you know, and I find out, wow. And then I noticed he died on the last day of the oil show. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's when the young girl was murdered. I wonder if he had some connection, you know, to the murder of the young girl that didn't want to prostitute Angie told me about and was murdered, you know. And so, you know, I mean, law enforcement should be investigating that. Okay. Here, I contacted his widow, Timber Williamson. Real hateful. I mean, you know, I highly suspect that she knows something about what's going on. Shit, you know, but she told me that he worked for a company called DNR over in Odessa. And I said, did they have a booth at the oil show? Yes, they did. And I go, oh, you know, red flags going on. Oh, interesting. Okay. And I said, well, can you confirm where he was at during that week, you know? And because if he was laying in bed with you, then it wasn't him or whatever, right? No, we were fighting and he's standing in a trailer about a mile away that week. Okay. So she couldn't confirm where his whereabouts were during the evenings of the oil show when the oil show parties were going on. You know, that's one thing I was looking at when I was contacted her, you know. Okay. And there's more to this. I'm just cutting it real short. She tells me he was 39. The cops were serving him a blue warrant to revoke his parole because he reported for a parole violation and they were trying to serve him and he shot himself in the head. Okay. That's what Timber, the widow of this Michael Sean Williams, you know, and I'm explaining to her some guy took her late husband's picture and name, created a fake Facebook account and contacted me. And then I wonder if it ain't connected to the murder of that little girl. That's what I'm explaining to her. She's extremely hateful, you know, and you know, part of this group of that Facebook's hate group that was created by Taryn Thomas and Kristen Bushman. You know, I talked about that recently. Okay. Another friend of mine, though, and this isn't Timber. She said Michael didn't kill himself. Okay, that's what I got in a private message. She said they thought for the longest that his wife staged it. Okay, this is what that's the rumor or the gossip going around town or whatever, that you know, that Michael didn't kill himself and Timber was involved in his death, you know. And then she goes on and tells me a little bit more. Says, but Mike was going to leave his wife because he found out a bunch of stuff about her and it freaked him out, and him and my brother were good friends. He was going to put it out there, but he died before he got the chance. I have to go by. Okay. And so that was just the short story of Michael Sean Williams. The whole point comes back to this guy died on the last day of the 2010 oil show, the week that young girl was, you know, that Angie told me about, that young girl being murdered. Okay. Skipping ahead, next year, July 3rd, 2011, I get engaged to the ex-wife down at her father's river house. Okay. This is down by Mexico on the Devil's River. And this thing, what he's got this trolley built up the mountain. The house is on the mountain and the river is down in the valley. Okay. And so that's the bottom of the trolley right there. This boat actually rides up on that trolley with people. You can carry 6 people and a boat up the mountain. Okay. And it uses a remote control like a garage door opener and just it carries you up the mountain and down the mountain. You got the little boat. We went fishing, had a great old time. See how beautiful it is? That's the Devil's River. It flows into Amistad. Amistad is on the Rio Grande. That's the border of Mexico. It's about 3.5 hours from Midland. We drove all the way down there, did not hit a checkpoint whatsoever. And I'm gonna show you. Here's 3 hours 44 minutes. I just Google mapped the thing down here to Mexico where we're at. Okay, I mean, this is where we're at on the Devil's River and where I'm at in Midland. And so like I said, about 3.5 hours, no checkpoints, whatever. You got this trolley. You could come in from Mexico with a load of 1,000 pounds of meth or a whole bunch of illegals, and then just trolley that thing right up the mountain, load them up in the truck, come right into Midland where there's I-20. I-20 runs through Midland and never hit a checkpoint. I think that's a DHS thing. And she had told me one time, we had a conversation, and she was really bragging, and she said, my dad is a king, and her dad's no longer alive, and I said, and she was talking about like kingpin, organized crime, and I said, well, I can one up you on that one. She said, oh yeah, how's that? I said, my father's king of kings. That's a true story. Okay, January 28, 2012. That's the day I'm ambushed and shot. Absolute proof says I wasn't shot with my gun. There's all kinds of evidence. Now we know we shot, by somebody under my home. There's an underground home in the backyard. All these people documented. Secret police, just incredible. I mean, this should have been national headline news on multiple levels a long time ago. There's just so much evidence. It's just to the point of absurdity. It's lawlessness, blatant in your face lawlessness. We'll come to your home and murder you. What are you going to do about it? That's what's going on in Midland, Texas. Okay, January 28, 2013. Okay, that's a year later or whatever. January 8th, I think, is the date. As I sent the true miracle email. Okay, and I'm giving God all the praise and glory, and I'm telling this whole story with evidence and all that. And I want to show you the many people here. It was basically I created this distribution list. I spent a long time. I got most half the churches in Midland. Okay, every supervisor for the Midland Police Department. I got their email. Okay, every supervisor, all the city council members, the mayor, the sheriff. Let's see. And family, friends, but even here, I want to show you some of the interesting ones. And the reason I put it in here because Rick Perry was in there, the governor of Texas, back in 2013, January 2013. Perry has a connection to this story, okay, and that's why I make it out. But also Jerry Morales, our last mayor, he was on that list. Wes Perry was the mayor when I was ambushed and shot, and Wes Perry was partners with Sir Jacob Rothschild, Dick Cheney, Vice President Dick Cheney, and Rupert Murdoch. They were drilling for oil in Syria, and he was the mayor of Midland when I was ambushed and shot. And I wonder if them people know about the $1 million underground homes in my backyard. Price Robinson was the chief of police at the time, when all this is going on. Sheriff Gary Painter, and later a sheriff candidate was recorded saying Painter used to hang out in them underground homes. And then this one under blue, Seth Herman, he's our current chief of police. He's known about this since forever. You can't deny it. He got an email back in 2013, true miracle email. August 2013, the remains of a young girl are found outside of Midland. 14 to 21 years old, and just recently they did a DNA analysis and determined it was a black girl. I believe it was a girl that Angie told me about was murdered at the 2010 oil show party in October 2010. Okay, and if they're truly going to investigate it, then you just expose the underground homes that you can see on the maps. Okay, let me go back here. Okay. December 2013, I got served with that protective order from the ex-wife, right? Hadn't seen her, talked to her in a year and a half. The reason I put it in here because it talks about some prostitution, human trafficking stuff. And this is the transcript from the case, okay? And so I was being asked, it says, now previously you said that you had suspected of her being a prostitute. Do you recall in December speaking to her about that? I said, yes, there were a few conversations, and we did, like I say, argue over this point several times. She come in one day, she said, they pay you by the hour, the minute, or the day, and I just worked 2 days and I'm tired, And of course she was an RN, and they don't pay RNs by the minute, right? And then I'll go on and I'll say, also, if you want to say accused her, I accused her of her breath smelling like semen, that was my testimony recorded on the transcript, And then in another conversation that was referenced in the order, it says, I said, I was telling her, I want to know who the pimps, the tricks, and the drug dealers are. And she said, it's a family business, you know. And so that was testimony from the protective order hearing where I'm saying that, you know, I mean, that's what caused the separation and divorce, you know, because I believe she's working with the human trafficking prostitution ring. And I think that's a DHS issue, okay? And then also in court right here, here's what happened in December. It was right around the time my mom died, December 7th. Okay, between December 7th to December 20th, then she makes a suicide threat. Okay, and so the police are called. You know, that can be documented, whatever. And so she was required to go see her doctor, her mental doctor. Okay, and so I go over with her. I'm the husband or whatever. And we just separated a few weeks after that. Okay, so we're down there. We're over in Odessa at this doctor's office. I didn't name him here, but my attorney subpoenaed all his records. Okay, for this court case because it was important. So I'm sitting there with the doctor and her, and he is reminding her of that time that she got her child involved in prostitution, okay, and you know, and which was news to me, okay, I didn't know that, and you know, and so I go to mention this in court because this seems important, especially in this, you know, protective order case that I felt like was bogus, you know, and but the district attorney, you know, assistant district attorney, she didn't want that, you know, object, stop, we don't want to hear about that, you know, no, you know, stop. She don't want to hear that proof, you know, because we got the records there. I subpoenaed it, and you know, and they blocked it and they stopped it. But that's what this is about right there, is that her doctor told me right in front of her about her getting her children involved in prostitution, you know, and so that should be documented on them records. That was the whole point right there, you know. Okay, December 13, 2014, the rape and murder story. I posted this to my Facebook, okay? It's right here. You can go on my back of my timeline. The rape and murder story is about the young girl that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party that Angie told me about, okay? So I'm telling this whole story. It is over here. I posted it many times. You know, you should read it if you hadn't read it. I've even got videos on it. But the video called Forced Prostitution, that's what it reads this here, okay? And I posted this picture of the secret police, but I didn't know who it was. I just knew it was one of the secret police because they were secret for 6 years. I just knew. You could tell he's wearing a Midland K9 police jacket. 2 days after I posted this story and that picture, this guy murders his wife and kills himself. 2 days later. I kid you not, you know. Would she be alive if he'd been arrested? Yeah, I got a feeling she would. Okay. Here, interesting, December 14, 2014, the next day, the very next day, I sent this email to then Attorney General Greg Abbott, then Texas Governor Rick Perry, and the Texas Rangers, okay? And I named it Rape and Murder. And what I planned on doing was copy and pasting the rape and murder story that I just put on there, but I accidentally posted the wrong story in there. I posted another story, which is an important fact-filled story about the crimes going on here, okay? And that was done on December 14th. Timing is important, so keep in mind the timing, okay? The very next day, I realized my mistake, okay, that I had posted the wrong story, okay? How embarrassing, okay? So I had to post the second one, had to send them another email, okay, the next day and said, I apologize, I somehow got the wrong story, I copied and pasted in here. Here's the rape and murder story. It's the one that was posted, you know, that was posted to my Facebook, told about the young girl being murdered at the oil show party. Keep in mind, this is going to Governor Rick Perry, Greg Abbott, and the Texas Rangers on December 15, 2014. And it wasn't, you know, whatever, hour later or whatever, Chad Simpson murdered his wife and killed himself. Okay, so they got this rape and murder story. The timing is really bizarre on that, you know, because I want to show you here. Right after I send them emails, Midland police officer shoots his wife, self and apparent murder suicide. This is the guy's picture I posted with the rape and murder story. Him, Chad Simpson, right here. And you know, he's the guy. He was the guy in my house. And you know what? He was not dispatched, and his name wasn't. It was omitted from the police report because that police report was highly, you know, falsified. 6 names were omitted of people that were caught on camera, identified by the private investigator. It also showed that 5 police officers were at or inside my home and not seen arriving, meaning they were under my home. I believe a party was going on underground that night. Actually, the ex-wife had told me, you don't know how many lives you ruined, and meaning a lot of people were here on the night I shot, January 28, 2012, And then the private investigator found a witness that was a friend of Chad's, that was willing to testify, saying, yes, Chad was in your house, and this was, it's well known now, Chad Simpson was one of the secret police here, okay? One of the 11 secret police. Timing is amazing. I just want you to get that. December 13th, I post the rape and murder story, Chad's picture, okay? December 14th, I send the first email to Perry and Abbott. Next day, on the 15th, I send the rape and murder story, Perry and Abbott. Same day, Chad Simpson murders his wife, kills himself. I want you to get them times right, okay? Okay, let's go on to 2019, April 2019, okay? New president, new vice president. I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to drain the swamp. Well, that didn't happen, did it? Crimes never stopped. Every single day Trump was president, I had people breaking my house. My life was threatened, But here we go. April 17th, Vice President Pence flies into Midland and beats oil company leaders, okay? And I got a feeling that maybe some of them oil companies had people at Underground Oil Show where a little girl was murdered because she didn't want to prostitute, And I mean, there's some people speculating, maybe we're going, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a big old donation. You help us cover up this murder, this little forced prostitution murder, And, that, of course, that's only speculation. We have no proof of that, okay? Okay, here we are. July 2nd, it looks like I missed something here. I did, okay? Because that was in April 17, 2019, Pence flies to Midland. Now, May 28th, okay, 2019, okay? So Pence had been here the month before, and here's what happened is that I contacted Homeland Security. First time I contacted them, and I met them at the Midland Police Department, and right before I met them, I made this video. Here, I'm going to play just the first few minutes of it.
Security system, and I'm making this video. I don't plan on posting it. It's just a proof video. Here at 10 o'clock, I have a meeting at the Midland Police Department with, I think his name's Paul Cervantes, and he's with Homeland Security. And I want to talk to him about specifically the human trafficking and then the related crimes, the murders, the burglaries, the theft, the fraud, and all the other, the capital attempted murder, my life, the medical crimes and all that. I've been working for a couple of days making created a 3-ring binder of evidence files, and then I also have a flash drive with videos and the files on it, and that's what I'm going to show here. And because I'm going to give this to him, but I want this record of it. Okay. And so for the cover is a letter from
Okay, so this book, and y'all can go watch that video if you want to see what's in the book, Evidence Provided to Homeland. It's full of evidence about, showing the maps and just Haley Dunn. There's a section on Haley Dunn. There's a friend of mine that told me about evidence in the murder of that little girl in Balmaray. I can't remember her name, but it's in that video right there of that little girl in Balmaray. She found a bloody, bloody something, a Bible or nightgown under the seat of this car, right? The same weekend that little girl in Balmaray went missing. Never been found. That's a murder in Balmaray right there. Y'all can look that up. And then also, the same person used to live in Albuquerque, and she told me he showed her an ID of one of the girls for the murders, the West Mesa murders. Y'all can Google that, the West Mesa murders, and so that was also, it was all in this one video right here. Okay, let me pause this for a minute. Okay, now I'm back, and as I just showed you, that was I'd met Homeland Security at the Midland Police Department on May 28th, 2019. And I was really only there probably less than an hour before they ran me out. I didn't get to finish it. And I tried to reschedule. Oh, we don't need it. We got this book. They literally pushed me out the door and, stuck their fingers in their ears, and like, I don't want to hear about this human trafficking, literally, well, they didn't stick a finger in their ear. But that's the way what I got the feeling that they're pushing me out the door. And a lot of it started as soon as I mentioned, police corruption, because if we don't address police corruption, then we're not going to solve this. 11 secret police were caught on camera. Took 6 years to get them identified. You got to talk about that. I mean, that's a big part of what's going on. Police were under my house. It's believed Angie was afraid to report the murder of that little girl because she said high-level police were at the parties. Okay, but as soon as I mentioned, police corruption, we're going to close this conversation down. It's over. It's done. And so I didn't even get to finish. I barely even got started. And I couldn't even reschedule. And I got big problems with Homeland. And like I said, it looks like Homeland is actually working with human traffickers that murder little girls, from my experience and here in Midland. Maybe not everywhere. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, to July 2nd, 2019. Homeland Security contacts me and wants me to meet them at the Home Depot store. Okay, or first they're going to meet me at my house. Okay, and I'm excited, thinking finally justice. Finally, I found a cop that wasn't dirty. Finally, after all these years, of dirty cop after dirty cop after dirty cop, and finally somebody that'll, because I got all the evidence, right? And then he contacts me back and says, "Wait a minute, something come up. We can't. It's going to be a few hours. I'll contact you, and we want to meet at Home Depot instead of my house." Okay. During that time, Vice President Pence mysteriously turns around the air and flies back to Washington. This made national news. Okay. I'm suspecting the reason is because I had that meeting with Homeland that day, and remember they changed it from my house to over at the Home Depot store, and later that day. Paul told me, hey, the reason we didn't want to come to your house is because we didn't want to be in your next video, because you got the security cameras. That's what he told me. So he wanted to meet me at the Home Depot store, which was better because then I could show him where the tunnels were and all that stuff as I did. Okay. And so anybody can Google that. The same day I met Homeland at the at the Home Depot store, that was the day that Pence turned around and flew in the air. Okay. Now, when I got over there, Paul and another guy standing there, they had a recorder and there. We're in the parking lot at Home Depot, and I get caught off guard right off the bat. Paul says, "I don't know why you don't sell that home if you're living under the threat of death." And then that just, it just set me back. I was like, whoa, I thought they were there to, stop this human trafficking ring. They're here to cover it up, because that's what the criminals are trying to do. They're trying to terrorize me from my home, The police are looking the other way. Criminals are breaking into my home, threatening my life. I'm getting all these death threats. I've already survived a murder attempt, and all these people are coming to me going, "I don't know why you don't sell that home." One guy says, "You got two choices. You move or be murdered." I just posted about that on my Facebook. I got so many of them move, requests you can't even imagine. They're trying to terrorize me from my home. Why? Because it's rigged, just like I said, in the backyard's an underground home where they were having also parties where they murdered a little girl. They want me out of this home, right? Desperately. Okay. And so that was Paul out there. Okay. So then we go around to the back of Home Depot. I show them where I believe the tunnel was located. I showed you that on the map already, where I believe that tunnel's going out. Then we went on the other side of the wall, on my side, on the alley side of the wall, and I show them evidence there. I got videos on that where you can tell there's a row of bricks missing at the bottom of the fence right there. We look over the fence in my backyard to show them where, here's where one of the underground homes is buried. I'm showing them this Homeland, all this, okay? This is all. And later, I was upset when they left. And then, and basically over and over, "That's not my job, that's not my job, not my job, not my job," over and over. I kept hearing him say, "Not my job," and I have a video called "Not My Job." But anyways, that night I got back and I sent him a text message, and I was a little upset. What I did, I included a video that I made called "Decided to Sell My Home." And what it does is explain the Hobbs Act. I had actually explained the Hobbs Act to him right after he, had tried to talk me into, "I don't know why you don't don't sell your home. And I said, let me explain the Hobbs Act to you. I know what the Hobbs Act is. Well, let me explain it to you anyway. Because if you're conspiring with others to terrorize me into selling my property under the threat of death, then that's a violation of the Hobbs Act, And, I mean, I'll read it to you because that's what's going on here. It's a textbook definition of what's going on here, So I sent him this video saying, decided to sell my home due to the terrorism being allowed by corrupt police, that are working with these criminals, et cetera. Okay. And the price is $1 billion, And so y'all, I'm done. Y'all win. Just give me $1 billion for my home and I'm out of here, And so now we're not talking about, I agreed to move. You won. You terrorized me out of my home. I agreed. Now you just pay me what I'm offering. And going, oh, no. We don't want to pay you $1 billion. So now it's all about price. So they want to terrorize you into selling your home at the price they set. And that was the point that I was making. Okay. So here's the text message from Paul that night when I sent it earlier in that day. We're in the parking lot, Home Depot, in white Ford Explorer, black Ford F-150. That was Paul that wrote that to me. Okay. We're standing outside the vehicles on the nursery side of Home Depot in the parking lot. And then, that's where he said, I don't know why you don't sell that home, And so then I sent this video right there. That's a video, decided to sell my home. Y'all win. Here's the price, $1 billion, etc. And I explained the Hobbs Act and all that in that video. Yeah, if you're doing that, you go to prison for 20 years. That's basically what I'm saying, And he writes back and he's upset. But let's get something clear. I was not trying to talk you into selling your home today. I simply asked you why you wouldn't consider selling your home if you continue to feel threatened in there, And I'll ask you please not to twist my words in something I absolutely did not say or imply, And I told people this before. I said, that's like the bank calling up because they have a bank robbery. Somebody gets shot, right? And then the police show up and say, I don't know why you don't sell this bank. You see how absurd that is? That's what was going on here. I'm calling Homeland, going, there's a human trafficking ring. They're murdered little girls who want prostitute, etc. And they tell me, I don't know why you don't sell your home. And then turned around and said, I wasn't trying to tell you not to sell your home. Oh, really? Remember it was recorded. They recorded it. Well, I want to take that recording and post it. It's their recording. I want to post it and let everybody hear about it, because I guarantee my word's rock solid, And so anyway, that was the day that I met Homeland at the Home Depot store. Okay, July 2nd, 2019. Okay, and I want to show you here behind there. This is where I was at. I showed them this right here by home. We were in the alley, here's in the backyard with the underground home. We looked at that fence. I showed them that. We looked at here, and and so 2 weeks later, January 17th, then they're pouring concrete back there. I mean, I got a video of concrete coming off the truck, pouring here. 2 weeks earlier, I was here with Homeland showing them where a human trafficking murder tunnel. I think maybe DNA evidence of that little girl is in that tunnel that is now filled with concrete. 2 weeks after I showed Homeland. You see the problems I got with Homeland? Okay. October, and I talked about this earlier. This is August. This is the next month, August 15th. I posted this story to my Facebook, August 15th. There's a timestamp called Artesia, New Mexico suspects. Okay. And I put that video where the lady says a town near Hobbs that starts with an A. Okay. That's Artesia. Okay. And I have all this evidence. That's this post here about Artesia. And then 4 hours later, Vice President Pence, look at the timestamp on it. Same day, same time, 11:28. This is posted that morning at 6:49. About 4 hours later, Pence, he's going to the tiny town of Artesia. What a coinky dinky, ain't it? Yeah, what a coinky dinky. I wonder if you got a big, contribution for your election. July 30th, 2019. Conaway quits. Okay, so keep the time frame. July 2nd, I meet Homeland. Okay, July 17th, they're pouring concrete. I get it on camera. August, actually, I got out of order, and I did that on purpose because I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about Conway. July 30th, 2 weeks later, U.S. Congressman, senior congressman from Midland, Texas, Conaway, announces he's retiring. Okay, come to find out, Mike Conaway's brother-in-law used to live across the street from my house. I had contacted Conaway in 2015. January 22nd, 2015. This is an official letter from Congress from Mike Conaway to me. I had met his staff. I had talked to him on a town hall meeting, okay? And I told him about being ambushed and shot and all these crimes, and I provided his staff all this evidence, and he suggested that I contact the U.S. Inspector General, which I did. I say 10 times, really about over 100 times, never got a reply back from. And the Inspector General is supposed to investigate allegations of corruption in federal departments like the FBI, like the DEA, like DHS, And so if they're not doing it, you lose your checks and balances, okay? And that's what happened, right? And, because we have no checks and balances. October 1st, 2015, I get back with his staff, with Corbett Padilla, and she was Conaway's main person here in Midland. And I said, hey, I can't get a hold of the Inspector General. Here the congressman asked me to contact Inspector General. They won't reply. And she writes back, I apologize. A more favorable outcome has not been provided, but it's not my problem, And literally that's what happened, And it's basically, I'm sorry that they're getting away with raping and murdering little girls, but it's not my problem. Okay, here we go. Deed history. I took, this is from Google Maps, and I just went to the appraisal district, and I went and looked back at all the owners and the past owners of all the homes. Obviously, somebody, 9 homes in this cul-de-sac. Obviously, somebody who lives here or used to live here knows something about $1 million underground homes, right? Put in for the Bushes and used for international oil show parties where they murder little girls. Obviously, right? This is my home here, where I bought it. The last homeowner, Mike Lawn, he bought it from Brandy Merrill. Okay, and then Brandy Merrill bought it from Morris Kurt. The first homeowner was Randy Offenberger. He was the engineer for Pioneer Oil Company. Okay, back in 1982, built in 1982. So that's what I'm doing here. But here's the Conaway home, the one owned by the brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Okay. It's owned by William Wilson now. Okay, he bought it from Cody Prindle. Here's the date. Daniel Price. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Daniel Price sold it to Cody in 2011. That was after I was already living here. Okay, what happened was Brandy Merrill, that owned my home. Okay, she used to own my home, married Daniel Price, and they were living over here in the Conaway home when I first moved in here. I wondered if this home didn't have a tunnel under it, and Brandy Merrill and Daniel Price know something about that, okay? Because I want to show you that Brandy, they're the ones that sold the home to Mike Lawn, and then I believe Mike Lawn was murdered week before the 2008 oil show started, okay? And so here they sold about 6 months before I'm ambushed and shot, okay? They bought it from John David Ward. I don't know anything about him. And then before that, it was owned by John Lejeune. That's the brother-in-law of U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Also interesting, directly across the street here is it's currently owned by Dustin Kirkland, was owned by Marilyn DeLuigi, and Marilyn was the person that told me that Mike died in my house 2 different times, okay? Marilyn did, okay? And she gets it from the relocation company, same one I use, because it was my company, because Samuel Slager, Ken Slager, was a commercial director for my company, okay? And his group took care of the oil show booth, okay? I've long suspected Ken might know about the underground home in my backyard that was used for the oil show parties, because Ken Slager lived right here, okay? And then there's other stories here and other people here. But mainly we're focusing on Conaway here, John Lejeune, okay? Okay, and I'm going to show you the obituary for John Lejeune, the late John Lejeune. Okay, he passed away there, and what it's showing is his sister was Suzanne Conaway. Okay, and so Suzanne was married to U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Okay, interestingly, Suzanne's first husband, Randy Kidwell, died on the famous Clayton Williams plane crash in Valentine's Day 1990. Okay, and he was one of the 5 executives while Clayton Williams was running for governor of Texas. There's a whole story about that, and another person person that died on that same plane crash was the vice president of the company that built all these homes in my neighborhood. That's right. That's amazing. A small little world. And what I was showing here is the deed history for my home, how Brandy was married to Daniel Price, lived across the street. Okay. And so I have a feeling she might know something. Okay. But then here, 3 months after I make the video of concrete being poured, to cover up the human trafficking murder tunnel, that's what I believe it was being poured for, the Secretary of Homeland resigns, Kevin McLennan, October 11th. Homeland Secretary resigns. Okay. 6 days later, Rick Perry, and Trump had made him Secretary of Energy. He resigns. And what I suspected was going on was these billion-dollar oil companies, multi-billion-dollar oil companies, they were leaning on Rick Perry to help them cover up the oil show party murders. Okay, the little girl, Michael Lahan, etc. Okay, and then, but I, once I got that video of them pouring concrete right after I'd showed Homeland Security where the human trafficking murder tunnel was at, and it went viral. Then all of a sudden, Conaway retires, and he resigns, and I think it's connected. What I wonder is, and this is where we started at the beginning, is today Homeland Security Chief of Staff abruptly resigns. I wonder if that's connected to Midland, Texas. I thought y'all might find this interesting. It should be national news. There is a huge cover-up going on. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.